Yesterday's topics. Today we'll be looking into feedback, and today the topics we'll be covering into the important topics we'll be covering today is importance to feedback, receiving feedback, giving feedback. As we were discussing, why feedback is important again, right? We'll just look into a case study. Hemant struggled to find a job because he could not speak English well. So after many months of job hunting and many interviews, he finally found a job, and he was lucky to get a boss who encouraged him to improve his communication skills. With a lot of hard work and help from his boss, Hemant learned how to converse in English. Hemant was a guy. He was struggling to get a job because he was not able to speak in English. After months of finding jobs and giving lots of interviews, then finally he got a job, or where his boss who encouraged to improve his communication skills. With a lot of hard works from and help from his boss, again Hemant learned how to speak in English. By the Hemant was very successful and saved some money. He decided to help young men and women in similar situation and built an app with the money he saved. The app had free books and videos on how to speak English fluently. Since Hemant, he a lot of hard work and he was very successful. So he had saved some money over through the all this journey. And again, he decided to help the young men and women in a similar situation, like people who weren't able to speak English, and he actually built an app with money he saved. And later on, the app had free books and videos as well, in order to help people to learn English fluently. Hemant kept adding new books and videos frequently, but the number of users did not increase. Advertising the app also did not help him much. After 2 years of hard work with a lot of money, Hemant had to shut down his app. People just do not want to learn, he said. What would we learn through this case study? He did a lot of what you can say. Just a second. Since he had developed an app, and again, he just kept on adding the course, or you can say, he just kept on adding books, videos frequently, and there is a lot of advertisement on the app done also, and there's not much genuine interaction with the app by the people. There was a situation that they were not happy with the app. So what do you understand by this study? So basically, here is the most of the content which was given by Hemant was free of cost, and there was a chances that he also added insufficient. He also kept on. He didn't make his own course as well, so he didn't take feedback. Thing is like he didn't ask his users how ways to improve on it, and again what all videos have to be uploaded in the app as well. Basically, he wasn't using the feedback system in order to get a thorough understanding on the app, on whereas the areas to be developed. You can see here that when creating a solution of a social problem, the feedback from users, families, and friends, partnerships helps to identify things again in the solution. They are helping the users to solve the problems on the things need to improve. So basically what happens is if he gets the feedbacks from users, families, friends, from the partners who have invested in the app as well. So if he had considered the feedback from those, probably that would have helped him to improve on the application. Getting ready to receive feedback. So being an observer, did Hemant learn why the passenger did not like the app, and what was the reason? What was the first role play and the second role play? So As you can see, then Hemant, later on understood then why feedback is important. Again, he also tried to understand the importance, how to where the areas to develop. So first role play was to take feedback from the users, families and friends. Again, later on the second role play was to improve the application on based on the feedback as well. Again, you can see that did the passenger tell Hemant why he deleted the app and what was the reason. So on the first hand side, we could say that why Hemant deleted the app. So we could just say that people weren't not much interested in the app, since because Hemant was not developing on the areas where the users wanted to improve on. So again, the first one, on the second hand side, he wasn't also sure about like he just thought that he's just giving the free contents to help the students, but he hasn't thought that where all the areas can be improved as well. So then like was he him able to get the feedback and he could use the improve later on when he got the feedback. Then again, on the first hand side, then he got the feedback that was a pleasant situation for him. But then since he had already deleted the app, then he also got to know where else to improve it, right? Then when collecting or receiving feedback, make sure the person is willing and able to give feedback you seek. Okay, so what does this say actually? So when the person is willing to or able to give a feedback, so you must also consider what the person is trying to tell and explain the feedback. What do you need actually? So when you're just trying to give a feedback, so you should also make sure that uh, what the feedback is up to. So like if you're like, for example, if I'm giving feedback, then again it should also clearly state that what I want is. So again, ask clear and easy understandable questions. So again, when you ask questions, it should be clear and it should be understandable questions, so that you can also understand what is the necessary behind that. So in order to explain the questions or to get some clarifications, you should also give some examples to that. Okay, then again, you should remain calm and do not take feedback personally. What if I say, if your application is too worse and you're not able to develop it properly, if that is my feedback, then if that feedback is taken personally, and you probably might not develop an application which is beneficial for the social cause. So you should also remain calm and understand what is the feedback given by the feedback users or the families or friends. So you should not take any feedbacks on personally. Okay, and you should be willing to change. So what does it actually mean? So any feedback given by the friends, families, and users, so those feedbacks are or should be willing to change in order to make it better for the users as well. Then again, create a safe space and encourage the person to talk. So what happens is, if you encourage a person who's able to talk, for example, if a person who doesn't know English, and you just encourage the person, so probably he might learn something or other, something at least you could have improve on a stage where you, instead of saying blah blah blah, and you I could say some fluent English. So you should also give him safe space so that you won't degrade him, or you don't make a fun of him. So you just make sure that you also encourage the person to talk. So before that, there's an African proverb says, examine what is said, not who speaks. Basically, that's what it also comes back to with take the feedback which is not personally. Again, so you should examine what he's trying to explain, what not the person who speaks out, right? So now again, the guidelines for the giving feedback. So what are the guidelines for giving feedback is, start and end conversation should be something positive. So when you give something, or when you start something, or when you end something for the feedback, again it should be a positive note, so that just make the person feel comfortable, or make sure that person has understood the content, or understood the feedback by the users or the friendly or family friends. Or what if he just there's a situation that your friend is he needs the feedback on something, like if he has developed an app, and if you say just your app doesn't work seamlessly, doesn't work as expected. If the starting is like that, he might he might not take the feedback into consideration. And probably you could have, instead you could say that, yeah, your app is going pretty well. Instead you could develop in this manner. So if you can just give a feedback like this, so probably this kind of feedback can have a greater impact in order to give a positive results. And you should also always remember empathy. You should also look into where, like if the person is down and he's just in having a like low situations, emotionally low situations, then again you should also consider the empathy situation. Like you could just provoke him, or you could just help him out with yeah, boosting him up his mood, or boosting up his situation, I mean mindsets, just encouraging him up, so that he could just make sure he can do, or he can just win the situations. Always giving him a constructive feedback again, on understanding the person's feelings. Then probably that feedbacks can help him, or help her, give a positive results again. The third was also says that giving should give you the constructive feedback. Yeah, as I was just telling. So then again what happens is, give specific examples. When you try to give more and more examples, probably what the feedback you're trying to explain, or the or feedback you're just trying to deliver, that feedback is actually delivered and understandable by the person who is just receiving your feedback. So what happens is, you do not be like probably there is a situation that there's no awkward situation there, and you also tend to break the bond, or bond in the sense, like you also have a greater impact, and you are emotionally connected in such a way that the feedbacks which are given are clearly understood, and there, and most of the feedbacks are not taken personally over there. So any questions are asked, and you again you can just you're not afraid to ask the questions. So what if if your friends are broke down or something, you ask your questions. But probably some situation or some questions are provoking the students to get provoking your friends to get into a anger state. So if you try to help them understand the situation, and if you are not afraid of asking questions with the proper intention, so the feedback system would actually help them out. So like for example, just see the read out the following statements. These statements are used to give feedbacks. Rewrite the statements using the guidelines just we just learned. So what if just see the statements like, I did not like the app. Appropriate statements, or what appropriate statements we could say. So we could say just a few minutes ago I just told that your app is pretty good. Instead you could just develop in a manner that people still can be attracted together. So that kind of appropriate statement can be also added here. And did you even think about adding x and x? So probably we could just say that in appropriate sentences, yeah, probably we could say that yeah, this statement is good. Instead, have you thought of adding this kind of a feature in this app? So adding this kind of constructive statements, or constructive feedback can actually help them think in a different directional format way, so that they can they understand what is the problem, or the faces the issues backside the app again. Then again, I don't think this is a good idea, though this sentences is actually provokes them to get into a personal situations again. um, you could say this, yeah, I agree with your point, but then instead of having to try this way again, this is an appropriate sentences. You could just give a constructive feedback. This what happens is, again, you need to put it in more work in solutions, or solution. Then again, if you are into appropriate statements, then again you should also make sure that he also the feedback which is given by you is also in a constructive way. So that you could also say that yeah, your solutions has to be done with this manner also. But it can also help these people who are receiving feedbacks, or the users can utilize this way. So giving these examples can also help them understand what is your the stage where the application has to be developed. Okay. Now let's come back to the again. um Okay, before we go, so always remember what Bill Gates said. So all we need people who will give us feedback, and that's how we improve. So most of the situations, like for example, you have your examinations coming by, and again, most of the situation, like if you're working in some company, again, most of the times where people have to, you should have a people who gives you proper feedback. Okay, if you have a proper feedback and people who don't tend to hit to your heart, so probably they just tend to give a constructive feedback in order to help you, or in order to make you grow in your company situations. They won't make you down so and think so cheap. No, I didn't think you could do this way and all. Probably they should try to explain in a proper manner that you should also understand it. They should not tell in a such a way that it is taken personally. Okay, it should give in a constructive way, or they should give it should also given in a constructive feedback, so that it's also understood that yeah, it is for our own well purpose. So when you have a set of people, they should also look into it, that they're giving a proper constructive feedback. Instead, they should not also not target on the personal no, it should not, the feedback is not targeted on the personal factors. I mean, that's how you improve, right? If you have a proper feedback system, that's how you improve. There is a lot of situation that people who just tend to say that you're no worth at all. You're not good at this work, you're not good at that work. People tend to put you down. So instead, if that is a situation, how can the people grow? And instead, you could say that yeah, you have done this much, right? You could have changed in this way, or you could have done in this proper format. So this kind of constructive words can help people learn faster. So it's on all the feedback, how you give, how you deliver as well. So that's how you make people improve on. So based on the feedbacks, people tend to improve. Now again, let's look into design the solution, iterate. So here what we'll look into is the topics we'll cover today is steps to iterate and giving and receiving feedback. Again, so what's opening? I know we'll just look into filling the blanks examples. By by doing dash to my prototype, I can make it better, because my prototype will be able to do dash. So we could just we could also see into it where we could add a constructive feedbacks, so that you could also showcase up your the prototypes, how it is. And again, also think where the prototypes has to be changed, and what all the organization on what prototypes can be done better. So there's a chances, if you can have constructive feedbacks. Again, you could just have make the prototype still better manner. And you could say also what are the steps to iterate again. For example, if I can say that the requirement planning, implementation, testing, evaluation. So what happens is, when you're starting a new if you're trying to do a prototype, then again, the initial planning stage, then you see for the initial planning, what are the requirements for the planning. So you consider the requirements for the planning, then again you do implementation. You for the implement Before the implementation, you also analyze and you also design for that, right? You also design for that. Again, you test what if the person the prototype is actually giving the better results as per requirement. Again, you test it, you again evaluate. After the testing, you evaluate. So will that the prototype is beneficial. Then after beneficial, you again again you plan. If the evaluation fails, again you plan, again you analyze it. Again, if that situation is analyzed, you again implement it. After implementation, you just test it again, and the cycle goes on. And if the plan is on the up to the mark, then again you just leave it to the deployment, and you just start into manufacturing sector, right? That's how this substitute iterate are. So planning and requirements, again, as I was just telling, see, you could see here, during the steps into iterative process, you will be define the project plan and align your overall project objectives. This is the stage where you will be outline any hard requirements, things, and must happen in order to your project to succeed. Without his these steps, so you run the stars iterating and not hitting your goals. So instead, you could just see there are certain steps and timelines, number of kids or schools I want to work with, locality where I want to work with. Again, I know that the team I need. Then again, any other resources I might need. Then results such as percentage of the kids who don't drop out because of our solutions, right? So this is the first stage of the iteration. Then let's look into the second stage of the iteration, that is analysis and design. So as I was just saying, the same thing is given here. During the steps, you and your team will focus on the business needs and technical requirements of the project. So if the one was to process of outlining your goals, and again step two was when the brainstorming a design that will help you ultimately hit those goals. So considering the example in this step, you'll be able you'll start to think more on your solution itself. So it could be that the ideas is to mentor the students to see whether the challenges are and then to help them with those. And again your idea could talk to their parents, again them help the students. And then again your ideas could also reward the students for attending classes as well. Detailing all these ideas would be designing your solutions. So again after the second step, let's look it into the third step as well, that's called as implementation. So during the third step, your team will create the first iteration of the project deliverable, or we could say the first small prototype. This iteration will be informed by the analysis and design, or should work with the hit ultimate project objective. The level of detail and time spent on the iterations will depend on the project as well. So for example, if I can say that there's nothing by putting onto practices of your design but the similar scale, so you should also just work with the 10 students in one school. So what if you just implement on the first stage, the first stage of implementation, or the first stage of a work. So that's called as implementation, right? On the testing part is again, as I was just saying, the same thing. So now now that you have an iteration, and just you will test it, whatever the way makes and the most sense. Again, in addition to adding and testing, so you should also check into whether the project stakeholders, ask them, again weighing the iteration, provide them with any feedbacks, right? So take considering the feedbacks, again it also help us goes with the feedback system, right? Then evaluation review, again what happens is you test them, you evaluate with the success and of iteration, align them again. You need some changes, again consider the feedback, you change it according to objective project objectives, why or why not. And if there's something needs to be changed, and why can't you restart it, or the iterative session, so iterative process of going back to the step, or to create the next iteration steps. So to keep in mind that initial planning of the goals should be remain the same all iterations as well. So continue building upon previous iterations until get the derivable until you're happy with. So or like if you can see benefits, or what are the benefits to allow here. So you could see here that it allows for the rapid solutions and misunderstandings of the projects, project team, and it helps to establish a clear and early, or in order to development life cycle. And it brings out the user feedback to ensure the system requirements and the meet user needs. And you could see that for example, if I can see here, it can help the client relationship to show the evaluation of a design rather than dumping or unfinished product into on them. Again it gives the development team some certainty that their efforts are being focused and adding values for users. Then again it provides a regular testing which can provide a strong desired performance with the framework for acceptance and testing. So it also makes sure that you just trying to have a better opportunities as well. So it also for easy incorporation and listen to learn for the final product as well. It gives the stakeholders a better visibility for the progress and each iteration. So it also helps to understand what the program is, what or the prototype is going to be. So present your prototypes. So questions to keep in mind while giving feedback. So do you think the problem is irrelevant? When you're giving the feedback, you should also think on problem is relevant or not. Then again you should do think the purpose solution will solve the problem. If your feedback is like probably helping the solution or not, or the problem or not. So if you're facing the problem, would you utilize or engage with this solution? If you are in that situation, then how would your solution help the situation or solve the problem? What do you like about these feedbacks? Then again feedback, I was just saying the same thing. So what are the changes, how would your feedback would actually help you with? Then again what are the changes or suggestions would you make on the proposed solutions? So it is also makes sure that the feedback given are it actually helps the solution to, in order to solve the problems again. So any other feedbacks or you might have, so is there any other alternatives feedbacks to you try to implement on? All right. So giving a feedbacks, what was easy and difficult about giving and receiving feedback? So what are the easy things are, just giving constructive feedbacks again. Make sure that you're able to understand the problem. Again, you're just trying to give a constructive feedback in order to make it better. And what are the difficulties of a feedback? You should make sure that the feedback which is given aren't taken personally, instead targeting personally as well. So again, see here, where else would you seek feedback from? You also seek feedbacks from many other aspects, right? Instead, you could get from online friends, families, etc., etc., right? Again, we'll just look into the next, just as a Frank Eclerc said, that criticisms like rain should be gentle enough to nourish a man's growth without destroying his roots. So it says the same thing, right? Okay. Criticisms like rain, criticisms, like most of the situations, criticisms are done for the most continuously. So that rain should nourish the man's growth, until without destroying his or her roots. So what happens is, people who tend to try to focus on, instead of giving a supportive or constructive feedback, they're just trying to come to your roots. Tend to tell fire you that you're not worth it. So that's how it should not be, right? Again, coming to the designing the solution of iterate part 2. We'll look into it enough. Topics we'll cover today is, fail fast and learn fast, need for feedback, ways to collect feedback. Okay. What's fail fast and learn fast? What happens is, when you're doing on your when you're on a progress, if you fail it, and if you fail and you understand what's your problem behind it, so you also learn it very sooner. There's a chances that you can see it through situations that you understand. Like, for example, if you can see that you understand the situation. Like, for example, if you're facing any kind of problem and you have if you are not able to learn it properly, then you obviously tend to fail, right? When you fail, you understand where was the problem is, and you review back the situation, you review back the steps what you have done through. Again, you learn from that, from the learnings of the failed consideration or the failed situation. You also tend to grow faster as well. So why do we need feedback? Why your feedback is important again. When the feedback is given in a constructive way, and when that kind of feedback is considered in yourself, okay, you that feedbacks can actually help you out with developing with the proper outcomes with and the positive results. And how will feedback help us to make a better solutions? It also gives an better understanding where the where has to be developed, and where can be changes to be done, and what are the situations where can be improved still more better in order to give the best results out. So, and again, where can we get feedback? So feedbacks can be got from many other situation. I was just telling the same thing before. So learn and share. So here what happens is, in article where collecting users feedback, the best practices. So you could see, considering the sim, sim companies, uh, you could see, they also call you, and you ask, they call customers, you get a call, they ask you, do you like our products vagara, like what kind of, if you're facing any kind of issues, what kind of issues you're facing, though they call you, and they call and ask your feedbacks, right? So that's the best practices way to understand, by collecting the feedbacks as well, from the users, from the customers, from the product by the users, right? Then what are the pain points from the users or customers have again. So define your objectives. So when you understand, when you take the feedback is important in the design process. So it also needs to be relevant to your business. So if for example, if you say some company, you are using some company's product, for example, if you are using some if you're using, if I just start saying, if you're using some car product, then again, if I say start saying that your car isn't giving, instead, if it is a diesel car, if I say that, diesel car isn't, worth being electronically, or it's electrical car, if I give that kind of feedback, or just it's not relevant though, then what kind of a feedback is that, right? So the feedback should be relevant to your business again. Then what kind of feedback do you need to reach toward business goals, and what kind of business, or what are the feedbacks you actually require as a business owner or a business community, right? So what are the motives your customers use your products and solutions again, right? Then your questions, what kind of questions, do not ask too many questions in order to ask your question, customers have. Or for example, if you ask too many questions, then probably they might get bored with your product, and probably they might, also decline using your product as well. So then again, keep your questions simple, easy to understand, to the point. So if the customers, if you have ask too many complicated questions to your users, then again, probably they might get again confused, and they won't understand what your question is. So they might, get fed up on your product. Again, there's a chance of, leading into loss again. Find the right people who are actually using the product, who are, actually using your product. You ask them instead of, asking some random people, what would you tell about the product you're using though. Okay, then again, feedback at each stage. There are multiple stages there, you understand it, every process. So on a designing stage, implementing stage, so each stages you understand, you take the feedback in order to give the better example or the better outcomes. Okay, then again, always back up with the feedback with the data. So wherever the situation is, you also back up with the feedback, with the data. You consider the feedbacks in the data, so that you also back up with. So you also have a track on where you have changed, where you also have a track on where you have developed. And you also take a feedback. It's not one time exercise, it has to be done on a regular action. So if the feedback system is, on a regular action basis, you could have a proper touch with, where you're improving on, where you are not improving on, where are the areas that you have been dropped. You having a track on that, so that you can have a ways to, or you have a check on to improve on, right? Then again, customers feedbacks loops. Then again, what happens here is, when your product is solving the problem, again, your user face. Then what if your user is facing, what kind of a problem that user is facing though. And if the product is easier to the users, so how can the user face it, or how can the users can understand the situation. How can the users utilize your products by, again, will your customers continue paying for your product. So you should also have a feedback on, if the customers is willing to, keep purchasing your product or not. So you should also have a feedback data, considered, and stored it, so that you also have a customer feedback loops again and again, to check back where the customers are, and what are the interest and de-interest rates going through. Then also, CSAT. What is the CSAT? The customer satisfaction survey. So you probably, most of the situations you have seen, like either in a Google form, or this is a survey that give 4 stars, 5 stars, right? On the based on the survey, customer satisfaction survey. So to scale from 1 to 5, 1 is the least, and 5 is the most. So you give, that's how you also get the feedback as well. So what happens is, you by seeing the satisfaction survey, if the customers or any of the users gives 4 5 stars, and probably you consider as, yeah, the product is at the good stage, and it's giving total satisfaction for the users or the customers. Or what if the customers or the users gives 1? So you try to understand where the problems are. You also consider the comments given down there, right? You also look out through which, where are the areas has to be developed. Probably when you just look into Amazon or Flipkart websites, or any other e-marketing, e-marketing websites, you also see that, there for each and every product there is a ratings given by. So you also look it through ratings, and you also understand what's the product satisfactory by given by other customers as well. So you also understand what would be the situation if you purchase the product again. So again, what is CES, customer ease sources. Yeah, I was just as I was just telling in the Google form. So after completing your Google form, or after filling up the Google Sheets or Google form, you also have a complete emojis like a dull face with an angry face, or quite satisfied, yeah, okay with, yeah, I'm just satisfied, I'm extremely satisfied. I mean, all those also explain is another type of feedback where you can understand the situation. Also understand the experience, or you can also understand the experience, or you could also help us to locate where the what you can say, uh, giving the usage, or you could say, or giving the product of satisfaction, I could say. So where the customers is useful to, where can the where the situation can be understood. Steps to steps in customers feedbacks loop. Yeah, gather all the data, learn from the data. That's how we do, right? So when we collect feedback from the customers, then we usually collect the gather the data. We also look into where where are the areas we are just going to going ahead, or we also look into where are the situations that we are growing well. And we also look into where we are lagging though. Where are the steps, where are the areas we are not able to develop, or we are not able to give the proper hospitality to the consumers or customers. So where the studies and analyzes the data, use information and gather to learn. So what happens is, when you apply your learnings, you also understand where the where your customers or feedbacks are interested to improve on. And then by your learnings, you can also develop your app, or you can also develop your services to the customers or users. Then again, you have a few things that you need to keep in mind, that there will be a problems that will you will fix them. But tell the world that you when you fix a problem, you might be tempted to keep quiet and hope no one notice the problem. But it is always better to get back to users who made you aware of the problem and tell them the problem is fixed. So you reach out to them and you tell them, yeah, your problem is fixed, or is there anything yeah, is there anything to be changed. Again, you just call them up, you reach them out either to email. You just tell them that your problem is fixed, so that they also understand that your problem is also fixed. Then again, there are times when the customer is wrong, so you look at the reasoning behind the change. You might also consider the business. So there are situations also that when the customers are also wrong. So they might give a false statement in order to have a competency between you and other business. So a feedback loop is a long term investment. So when a feedback loop is also there, then it should be there, says that it should always there in every aspects, in order to have a long term run, to in order to understand what the product is trying to deliver to its users or customers. Again, keep your customers updated. So you see, you also see that there is lots of advertisements coming through on FM radios and TV channels, again, right, newspapers. There is lots of advertisements. So how do you keep your customers engaged? So you also tell that this product has been developed this much, and it also this kind of features. So you tend to keep your customers updated. So you just social media advertisements, and again, you just keep updated to your this thing, right? Excuse me. Yeah. And Article 3, we could see that all about you users feedback again. So when you work captive group of people during the early state of a product, these are the people who agree with the work with us, and on a set of given tasks. As the product develops, so we see a collected data, feedbacks, and real users, rather than any from small group of people who agree with work to us. So what happens is, a group of people are working with, so we should also consider their feedback. And probably you should also see into it, they're also collecting data in a small group of people, you know they're having a group of people, and they have a set of tasks to be done, so that they are also collecting a set of feedback or a collective feedback in order to that's the best way to collect a feedback, right? And see, for example, you do a survey, again you do how do forms, again you do, by the observations, again there are certain steps for having feedbacks, right? So survey in order to which you just have feedbacks, again as we just saw in previous slides, having Google forms or surveys, again, right? And the same thing, observation is again on reported data. Here you could see, custom is not enough, you just you just come to your own conclusions that the customer is not satisfied or not, again, right? Then again you could see there are tips to improve your feedbacks collection process. So do not be afraid to ask on feedback for, so you should not be afraid for what you're asking for, right? Then the next segments your customers and feedbacks into relevant groups. For example, premium customers get a different service experience, and normal customers get segregated feedbacks. Again, people who aren't using your feedbacks, again they are into separate. So each and every segments of your customers have to be segregated, right? So if a premium customer uses regularly, probably that kind of customers have a different feedback. And probably customers who goes here and there, I mean, particularly if they are frequent purchase of your products, then again probably that they have certain other experience in order to give their feedbacks, right? They always ask the customers where they're why they're leaving. So as I was just telling the example, if the SIM cards companies are, yeah, they, if you port from one company to another company, for example, if I can say Airtel to Geo or Airtel to some other company, you get a customer feedback call, and they ask you, what was the issue with us. They try to ask you, they try to collect the feedback, why you're leaving or why you're changing the SIM from this point to that point. So, right? Okay, learn to balance the feedback you receive from the customers. You also understand, you should make sure that those feedbacks actually are the constructive feedbacks in order to make the products develop. In order to you should also make sure that that has to be that has to be solved, the customers or users problem solved. Okay, I remember to observe, and you should also make sure that when the changes have been done or the customers feedbacks have been solved, you should also make sure that that kind of problems is solved. Again, you should also check back whether if the same kind of problem is yet again popped up, so you should have also been observed with, right? Coming back with the same thing, and we'll just look into design your feedback mechanism. So what's how do you design your feedback mechanism? So we should also look into which, where some things you need to keep in mind, where why are you collecting feedback. And you should also see where what do you hope for learning from this. So you should have in mind that collecting feedback, what will you why are you collecting this feedback, from this feedback, what are you trying to learn, what are you what you what makes you growth from this. So what are your thought process behind creating this mechanism. So you should also have a process where you're trying to get a proper feedback in order to have a constructive product relative, right? So instead, if you have a best way, and if you have if I can say like if there is a best way or something, you probably you collect the collect feedbacks from the all of your customers or your users, and you try to give them a proper way, so that they give the collect constructive feedbacks in order to develop your products in a better manner, so that still there are more customers and users to your products. And there are more lots of products reached out to more many other customers, right? So that's what your main intention is, to collect feedback. Then after all this, just review your mechanism, or you could say review your feedback. So why do you choose this particular method to collect the feedback? So if there is a particular method, so you also review review the method, why is this particular method is selected to collect the feedback as well. If I can say that, a few most of the situations are, there are surveys, there are some Google forms, for example. If you can say, if you install some application, X application in your Android or iPhone on your device, again, there's a feedback popping up. Or if you says that, would you like to rate from star 1 to 5 again. So why is that method adapted by the company as well? So there are situations that there's some particular method, so that they could resolve, and they could segregate, based on this customers feedback, to have a benefited outcomes with. Okay, and then what are some added benefits from getting these methods as compared to feedback and receiving the previous sessions as well? So what happens is, again, on the roadblocks on to, and you also have constructive feedbacks, or you swap your mechanisms, or probably there's a situation that you change the mechanism of collecting feedback, so that make sure you keep the customers engaged, so that you also get a proper feedback, right? So you're also working with solutions with you're also working with solution. So if the if you're not from like one type of method, and if you're not getting if you are not expected with the proper solution, or if you're just facing down with a lot of not adequate solution, or not adequate feedbacks, then again you swap the mechanism, you change the mechanism again, and you make sure that your customers also things that probably they have improved on, so that they give a proper feedback, right? So that's how you do on your business. Again, we could see here, once Bill Gates said, we all need people who give us feedback, and that's how we improve. The same thing has been, as I just told you. Coming back to module 3, we'll be just looking into there are several sessions. Like session 1 says, what is social entrepreneurship, identify value propositions, understanding the market customers, understanding the market competition, understanding the market macro environment, key people 1, key people 2, communicating with the key people, finance for the your venture 1, finance for the venture 2, marketing for entrepreneurs 1, again, marketing for entrepreneurs 2, preparing for launch 1, preparing for launch 2, again, and starting for your entrepreneurships, creating your delivering, and the pitch. There are course outcomes. What is social entrepreneurship? In this, we'll learn into define social entrepreneurship, identify the features and the process of social entrepreneurship, explain the role for the social entrepreneurship in our society, describe a social entrepreneurship, and then again, right? So we'll just again identify the value propositions. What we learn here is, again, what is value proposition, identify the value proposition on their entrepreneurship skills with the 6 word story of their describe your life. What is value propositions, or how do we make up a value propositions, present your value proposition. So again, you also have with understanding the markets and the customers, right? So we also understand what is who are your users, who are your customers, who are the beneficiaries, and again, how to identify the users, how to identify the customers, how do we understand the beneficiaries on social enterprises. Again, we gain in depth with gain the depth understanding who are the customers are. Again, we also differentiate between who are the customers, who are the users, who are the beneficiaries. Again, understanding the market competition. Again, like we also understand the competition between two companies also, right? We also analyze the competition, and also, is there any existing alternatives for that? Again, you understand the importance for collaborating with the competitors, and what is the competition, analyze the competition, why do we need to elaborate, and again, design strategies for the collaborations. Again, when you know your competition, know your competitor, right? Then again, understanding the market on a macro environment. So what is macro environment? We understand what is macro environment. What we also understand what is pest, and we also understand 4 elements for the pest. Again, what is macro environment? Pest analysis. Again, factors to consider for the pest analysis, how to apply pest analysis. Again, prepare pest analysis, in depth understanding what is pest analysis again. Okay, Then we also understand, we look into it where who are the key people, how do appreciate the role and importance for the team and the successful social venture. Then jack up all trades, and again roles with the teams. Again, acquire with the necessary tools to build up with a healthy team culture. Communicating with the team, how do you communicate with the team. Again, align individual strengths and the goals for the entrepreneurship's vision. Helping the team role play. Again, how would you hire them, what do you bring them to the team. Again, we also look into it, key people too. There are like peer people, organizations, and why do you need to work with. Again, working with the partners. Again, acquire the necessary communication skills with build lasting partnerships. You also look into why should I be your partner with, then again, plans for the partners. Why do I need for the partners as well. Again, understand the need for the importance of the negotiation. What is the negotiation role play and successful negotiation pre-works. Again, negotiation blueprints. Again, you also finance your venture. So how do you finance your venture is, and then again, identify there are various sources for funding. Identify the venture streams and the social entrepreneurships. Again, introduction to various sources of funding. Again, Sahakara Sindhu. Sahakara Sindhu. That's a when you understand better what are the schemes for the revenue streams. Again, you name the revenue streams. Again, prior learning. Again, finance your ventures for. Then again, you also calculate the expenses associated with your entrepreneurships. Again, you identify your startup expenses, startup assets. Again, calculating the expenses, managing the expenses. Again, marketing for the entrepreneurs one. Again, you also look into acquiring the necessary knowledge to the build a brand. Again, creating a marketing plan to communicate with the end users. What is the brand essentials for the brand building, brand communication. Building your brand optional. Again, why brands fail, right? So we'll just look into a few other examples to it. And we also look into marketing for entrepreneurs too. So for example, we could say that identify the important elements for the distribution channels. You understand the meaning of importance of distribution channels, gather skills necessary to build distribution channels through their social entrepreneurships. Appreciate the meaning of importance of marketing funnel. So here we will just look into types of distribution channels on why is it, what is marketing funnel and what is your role play in that. And we also look into it, decide on distribution channel for your ventures. Again, we also look into preparing for launch one. So we create MVP for entrepreneurships. Then again, full or social menu, reciprocal learning. Then again, what is MVP all about, and again, what how to create your MVP and present your MVP. Again, preparing for launch two is then create an evaluator page. Explore the essential for creating a pitch, evaluator pitch. Again, what's a pitch all about. So then again, we'll look into explore the steps of creating a business plan. Again, then what's a business plan, how do you create your evaluator page. Again, what are the steps to for the business plan. Again, no then how do you start your own entrepreneurship skills, or in starting your own entrepreneurship skills. Again, you need, for that you need to understand the importance of knowing the legal environment they work in. Then again, you test your knowledge though. Then identify the different types of companies who are working in the same categories. Before we start our own business, we also understand, based on the given information, decide the type of company that is situated for the social venture. Again, so now understand the tax and its importance. First steps to successful social entrepreneurships quiz. Then you also look into create and deliver a pitch to future investors. Again, creating your pitch, presentations, right? So from here I'll just continue with the tomorrow. Thank you guys for being so patient. This is Vardhan Kulkarni signing off. Thank you.